Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Last Day Gamers, and welcome. So today is Thursday, and we all know what happens on Thursday. We've got an exciting new update from the Space Engineers developers, and you're probably wondering what you'll be getting your hands on this week. Last week's DirectX update was quite a surprise, and before that, the ship's automatic navigation was even more exciting. Now that navigation system, the Autopilot, has had more features added to it, so you can do even more. You can actually automatically dock your ship, with a little bit of a few features that they've added in by a little bit of help. So let's hop into our cockpit and we'll bring up the menu by pressing K. So now we're on the menu, we can see the remote control block, and we'll scroll down here and I'll show you some of the new features. So this precision mode here, precision mode, what's that, you're probably wondering? Well, that forces the ship to move a lot slower, so when it comes into a docking port, it's not going to ram into it incredibly hard and smash it. Now if we go a little bit further down, you'll notice we've got the same flight modes, and we also have a direction option. A direction option, what's that, you may be asking? Well, instead of making the ship turn around, you can also reset the setting with a timer block or in the system. I'll show you down below, and you can mean it's going to fly in whatever direction it is facing from the remote control. So at the current moment in time, if I hop out this menu and I get myself a remote control block like so, and I grab that remote control block and place it on top, you can actually see how that little yellow part on the front of the remote control block, the little eye you could even say, is the forward facing point. This part is the top, and then obviously you've got left, back, side and front. So that is what that little setting deters, and if you tick it's, say, to fly left, it'll now use this as the front of the ship and it'll fly off in that direction. So that's something interesting to take into consideration. But let's go back to the menu. We'll go back into the remote control block. Now you can see that we've got waypoints like before, but there's this action button added to the side of them. It means we can add actions to the actual waypoints, and this is really cool. I'll show you. We'll go to docking 1. So if I was going to dock a ship, I'll show you how to set one of them up right now. So as we go to the setup actions, you can see we've got the stages here. So the first stage is to turn the locking clamp on. So when it reaches that docking coordinate, it'll turn the locking clamp on, and I think probably the best way of doing this is actually set the ship off in a second and show it. So you can see a time block then starts, and the timer block then will disengage the autopilot, reactivate the autopilot so it can fly off from where it's engaged. Remote once again will force it to actually fly up rather than the usual forward sort of perspective, and then the locker will start again, so it'll disengage, and you can see it toggles the block on and off for the connector, and it should fly away once it's emptied out the actual conveyor itself. So it's a very efficient, very little smart process. You could use this for all sorts of things like mining ships and other things. So let's actually kick this thing off and get it running on the autopilot. So we're going to scroll a little bit up to the top, and we're going to tick the autopilot mode. So as I've ticked there, you can see it's heading to docking point 1. And now here's the cool bit. It's going through the menu system and it's actually activating, and we'll hop out the ship so we can get a little bit better view and prove that I'm not just flying this. You can see it's changed the actual direction of the remote control block, and it's becoming into that docking position here. So as it approaches, the timer block activates, it locks itself into position, and you can see the time block is timing itself to disengage after a certain amount of time, and it's emptied all the contents of that ship out into the container below. It'd be absolutely perfect for a mining ship, this. Now if we head back over here, you can see that the ship is heading to its new docking coordinate 2, and it's a lot faster than me in acceleration, but it's going to get to docking 2 and then the lower docking. So from what the key and the developers actually showed us, it seems like the easiest or the most efficient way of docking is to bring your ship above and then send it down rather than make it try and fly across and align itself. I guess this is just the most efficient way of doing it due to the connector and not getting it snagged on the lower areas. So you can see that's coming there below. Now if I hop back into the cockpit, I'm going to show you something even cooler. Now imagine that your station or your mining sort of ship becomes under attack and you need it to return to the first waypoint. So what you can actually do is go remote, and you could manually control this, or you could set this up on a sensor. So we go to the remote option, and then we set the waypoint, the reset waypoint button, if I can find it. There we go, reset waypoint. So that'll take us back to the first waypoint. So that should be docking 1 in this case. So it flies over there nice and safely. It could return us to our main hangar if the ship was under attack and it picked up something suspicious on the sensors. Just a really cool feature. Now another source of confusion that I would sort of answer with this remote control GPS system is where the actual ship centers its GPS coordinates from. And that is quite an interesting question. It actually centers all its GPS coordinates from the actual remote control block. So the GPS coordinate itself will line up with this block. So to actually demonstrate this a little bit better, I've got the blue ship coming down. You can see the remote block has been marked on the hood, and as that lowers, it's going to come into exactly the same position on the docking clamp here. So you'll see that lines up with the remote control block centered. So there you go. So hopefully that solves that question and will allow you to build around this, especially if you're in a much larger ship and you decide to center that remote control in a more sort of out of the way area that you'd probably best do in case it becomes damaged, and then you've got a rogue ship on your hands. Now, the final feature of this update, something that's quite small, but on the other hand it's quite effective and it's going to speed up your process with the remote control block, is selecting the waypoints. Before you can only select one at a time, but now you can shift click them and you can select them all, so we can remove all them off the actual menu. And we can also do the same in return. We can actually select all the GPS documents we want and we can copy them and add them to that waypoint there. So as you see, as we added them up to the top, they've lost all of the little commands we've set up in here, so it is separate than the actual GPS system itself. So if we go to set up actions, we can start dropping them settings on there, so as it reaches that waypoint it'll activate this, and it's a great work with in combination with the timer blocks. So it's something really cool and I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do with it. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to get working